Hey friends, Jonathan here, and today we're going to talk about the importance of hydration. That's right, getting enough good, clean water in your system is absolutely integral to having good health, and a couple other things that we're going to talk about here and about why it's integral to your good health. So the number one thing that we're going to talk about is energy. Having a good amount of water, good clean water in your system tends to improve your brain function. The brain is highly comprised of water, and so having enough water in there helps the brain to run smooth, and when the brain runs smooth, we feel more energetic, we feel better, and it's just a good recipe to have a good day. From there, the second thing is appetite control. For a lot of people, one of the big things that happens is that we eat our food, and then if we aren't properly hydrated, we might still feel kind of hungry. And if you still feel hungry, then a lot of that could be just that you're actually thirsty. Our body is craving water, but we're not really in touch with that feeling, so we end up eating more, thinking we're hungry, and what we really need is water. And if you're eating something that's heavy or salty, it could really throw that off. So we want to make sure that we're properly hydrated at all times so that our signal from our body is really a hunger signal and not a thirsty signal. The next thing, number 3, is going to be that it keeps it clean on an internal level. Having plenty of good clean water flowing through your system keeps your internal body clean. This is a lot like if you had a fountain outside. And if the water is constantly running and you constantly have good clean water running through, the water stays pretty clear. The fountain itself stays pretty clean. But if you have periods where you turn it off and there's not a lot of water running through it, then you end up with water that kind of stagnates, it gets a little grimy on there, and the same thing happens inside of our body. If we don't have the right amount of water, then it tends to our body gets stagnant, builds up toxins, and we want to keep that flushing out. Next thing would be digestive health. So the digestive system, like all the systems in the body, can't run properly unless you're properly hydrated. It needs to be wet, it needs to have a moist environment for it to be lubricated, for the food to pass, and for all the intracellular processes to go on as well. The next thing is going to be your skin health. If we want to have that really nice, smooth, even skin tone, then you've got to have water. Think about a piece of dried fruit. Have you ever seen like a dried up apple? You see that the skin, the whole thing gets crinkly and it gets kind of brittle. When you hydrate, if you rehydrate that fruit, then it gets plump and the skin gets smooth and it gets moisturized and it just looks and it feels a lot better. And our skin is very similar to that. If we get enough good clean water in, then it tends to kind of plump it up, make it a little bit more smoothed out and a little bit less wrinkly. Next thing is going to be your immune system. And just like the digestive system, without proper hydration, the immune system cannot do its job properly. Can't get the things where it needs to get them. All the little T cells and everything else need to travel through a liquid environment. And there's a whole bunch of other science on it, but just in general, keeping it clean, keeping that water flowing through, good clean water, is going to really improve your immune system. Next thing is going to be muscle cramps. For those of us, whether you're an active person or inactive, you've most likely had a nice muscle cramp or two in your life, and we'd rather not have those if you've ever had one. So keeping your body hydrated tends to lessen the effect of that, or at least lessen the possibility that it occurs to you. So we want to keep that water flowing through. Final thing is the most important thing, which is that having good clean water in your system, being hydrated, gives you positive vibes. It makes you feel good, and when you feel good, then you act good, and then you receive good. So that's just the way that it goes. If you got plenty of good water, if you're feeling hydrated, you're ready to go, you have tons of energy, you're healthy, and that just makes you feel good. And then you can give your best when you feel your best. And that's what it's all about, being able to give as much as you can, and you got to be feeling good in order to do that. Now, what can we do in order to get the water in the system? Well, there's the old-fashioned way of just drinking water, which is a great thing. Make sure you're drinking clean, filtered water. I prefer alkaline water, but do what you got to do. Just make sure you're getting that water in there. Another thing, a couple other things that work that aren't so obvious are things like eating fruit and vegetables, which are very high in water content. Especially things like melons in the fruit category, or even apples and oranges. We can just feel the juice in them. And then, vegetables like cucumbers or zucchinis or eggplants, and almost every vegetable, even greens, are just loaded with good, clean water that's been filtered through that natural process. And then the last couple things that we'll talk about is that, I'm not a coffee person. I don't really do caffeine. but if you do, that's great. You get some water out of that. But I'm a big fan of herbal tea, and herbal tea is a great way to not only get your water in, but you get a little bit of a taste element to it, and you can get those extra nutrition from the tea itself. And then the last thing I'll say is that one of the more obvious ones is just plain old soup. We're in the winter here in California, so it's a little bit chilly. I mean, I know it's not actually cold, but it's cold for us Californians here. And having that soup, a nice hot soup, just feels good. But it also, I mean, obviously the base of soup is almost always water. So it's very hydrating as well. So these are just some of the reasons that why water and hydration are so important, and a couple of the ways that you can make sure you get your daily dose. This is Jonathan Neal, and I hope this has been helpful for you. Stay hydrated, stay up, stay positive, and have a wonderful day.